Stray Children is the rare game that makes you ask a rude question in the first 10 minutes. Is this brilliant or is it going to break me? It looks like a lost PS1 disc somebody found behind a CRT, all jittery pixels and crunchy edges. But underneath the nostalgia, it's a razor, one save file, no backtracking, and a combat system that lets you talk your way out of fights, provided you decode a logic puzzle while dodging bullet hell patterns and your palms are sweating. If that mix of sincerity and sadism sounds thrilling, buckle up. If it makes your stomach drop, keep listening anyway, because what Onion Games is doing here is bold in a way we don't get often. Context first. Stray Children launched October 30th, 2025 on Switch and PC. Developed and published by Onion Games, the spiritual heirs to Love-de-Lic, the folks behind Moon remix RPG adventure. Multiple critics line up on the same headline. This is a spiritual successor to Moon without being a cover band. You're a boy pulled into a game cartridge tied to your missing father, wandering a dream world ruled by children and haunted by olders, adults twisted into hostile beings. It's funny, somber, and pointedly weird, with a visual style that sells the PS1 illusion by smashing 2D sprites and raw 3D models together and refusing to anti-alias the seams. It shouldn't work, it absolutely does. Mechanically, the elevator pitch is Undertale by way of Moon. Encounters are turn-based, but enemy turns become small bullet hell arenas where your slow little avatar threads patterns that always feel faster than they are. On your turn, you can attack like a normal RPG, or you can talk. Talking is not a press mercy to win button. It's a puzzle. Choose the right words in the right sequence, watch the enemy react with approval or anger, survive a nastier pattern as their walls come down, then trigger an open sesame to free their soul. Do it right, and that enemy vanishes from the random encounter pool in that region. You also get a little epitaph, a shard of who they were before they became an older. The design slaps two layers at once. You're incentivized to play pacifist for both mechanical relief and narrative reward, and you're punished with harder, longer sequences for choosing the moral path. That sting is intentional. Refusing violence costs you. Where the reviews agree, the friction is the point. One critic calls the pacifist path mean with a grin. Another leans into the PS1 energy of obtuse puzzles and says the frustrations feel thematically right. A third goes harder on the art horror angle. This is psychological dread, not jump scares, and praises how the first Doomed World nails the vibe of a brain losing track of itself. People draw lines to Earthbound, not because it imitates the story, but because it weaponizes dream logic and melancholy. Across the board, the art direction is a knockout, the tone is uniquely warm and unsettling, and the sincerity bleeds through every scene. So why the warnings? Because Onion commits to the bit. There's only one save file and you can't delete it from inside the game. Sections lock off forever once cleared. Key items can be found early and become crucial much later, especially for pacifist routes with certain olders. If you miss them, you might slam into a wall and realize the only way to see that pacifist payoff this run is to fight, or to accept that your perfect play will be imperfect. For some, that's exhilarating. For others, it's a Sierra flashback you didn't consent to. One review notes later dungeons that drift into maze padding and a late game flow that feels a little more video game than fever dream. But none of them argue the experience crumbles. They argue it demands you meet it where it lives. Here's Veteran Games Red. Stray Children plays by art rules first and RPG rules second. When it's cooking, the design, theme, and systems braid together so tightly, it's hard not to smile. Pacifist talks become tiny stories. Bullet hell phases become a visual metaphor for a person lashing out when you press the right nerve. And the PS1 grit stops being cosplay and becomes the world's truth. The price you pay is agency. The game will take it away to make a point, often by forcing compliance with a yes when you clearly want no, or by locking a route after you pass it. That's not sloppy UX, it's deliberate. The question is whether you enjoy being pushed like that. Quick spoiler in 3, 2, 1. The first major area you explore is the ruined remains of your father's unreleased game, slipped into a loop where nothing moves forward and details keep erasing. It's a smart, unnerving way to literalize a creative mind that's stalled and fraying. Spoilers over, back to mechanics and vibes. Let's talk difficulty curve. There's no selectable easy mode. The game argues that your choices set the difficulty. Pick violence for a quicker path, pick talk for the longer road with richer payoffs. Enemies hit hard. Patterns escalate when you're getting warmer. Hints exist as notes or shells in the world, but they can be vague, found out of order, or deliciously trollish. In some zones, the best rhythm is to pacify the olders first, then savor the quiet afterward when random battles evaporate. That's the game teaching you tempo, clear the storm, then breathe. A practical note for folks who want the pacifist rewards without losing their mind. Treat it like a retro RPG because it is one by choice. Keep a notebook for clue fragments and word orders. Comb edges and walls. Areas hide side rooms with the subtlety of a PS1 map artist on a deadline. After new scenes, reread signs and revisit obvious spaces because state changes quietly. Inventory discipline matters. Don't burn unique items without thinking, and assume any oddball trinket might be relevant 20 screens later. None of that is glamorous, but it aligns you with the game's cadence and saves your thumbs. Where do the reviews diverge? One celebrates the game's refusal to sand off its corners and gives it near top marks. Another lands at a strong 8, praising the introspection and admitting the trial and error can turn into grind when hints go opaque. A third argues the later game undercuts itself with mazy padding but still calls it exceptional as an artistic experience. Strip the bias and the picture is consistent. This is special, niche, and proudly inconvenient. So, is it worth it if Moon Earthbound, Undertale, or even Nier's idea of making you sit in discomfort make you perk up? This is an easy yes. If you love PS1 ambience but demand modern conveniences, the one save, no backtrack doctrine will feel like a dare. Personally, I think the dare is the point. The game is asking you not just to win it, but to participate in its worldview. That growing up is messy, that adults fail kids in mundane and mythic ways, and that mercy is harder than violence, but worth it because it changes the world you walk through. If this kind of no BS deep dive is your thing, hitch a ride with Veteran Game and hit subscribe. If you're nodding or fuming, toss a like, so this take survives the algorithm and I can keep chasing these weird, wonderful corner case gems. I'll leave you with the spicy question. Are one-save files and permanent lockouts the honest cost of making games feel consequential, or is that just nostalgia wearing a designer beret?